Carolyn Doobie here. What's the play for today? Today I'm making some cards by gel printing directly onto a card blank. And as I'm doing this, the layers are going to build up, and some of them I'm going to love and some of them not so much. And you're going to see what I do when that happens. I'm going to start by putting a little bit of a color here onto the plate, and I'm using the 8x10 gel press plate here. You can use any color, any acrylic paint, whatever you've got within arm's reach. And then I'm going to start picking some of it up on the cards. I'm taking random bits here and there. I'm not thinking really hard about this because this is the first layer. And there are going to be so many layers on here, the first layer will barely be seen. All right, let me move some of these paint tubes out of the way here. This way you can see these 4 cards go layer by layer as I create them. Now I've pulled out a whole bunch of paints here, different brands, different kinds, just so I have an assortment of things to pull from. And if I feel like I don't have enough paint on the plate, well, I simply put some more on it like what I just did. What I want to do right now though, is I want to pull a bunch of the paint up because I'd like the plate as naked as possible for what I'm about to do. Because I'm going to put a stencil on top of it. And that's one of the great things about the gel press plate is it will grab that stencil, hold it in place, so as I'm brayering that color over it, it is going to hold it there and the paint's not going to run underneath it. It's one of the fastest ways to stencil. And then I'm going to pick and choose parts to put on different cards. See, I can use the whole thing or I can use some of it. It's really cool that we have that flexibility to do it whichever way is calling to us on that layer. And if you're wondering what are the exact names of the paints that I'm using, what are those exact colors, what are the names of the stencils, all of that stuff, exactly which size gel press plate I'm using, it's all down below in the supply list in the video for you. Now I'm going to bring in a fancy tool. This is a lid from something at some point in my life. I like the size of the circle, so I hung on to it and I use it to print with. Now this was a neat and tidy, careful row of circles, but it doesn't always have to be so neat and tidy. This happens to be the lid of something else, slightly larger circle, probably not that much larger, but it feels different to me. And I am making a whole bunch of little circles there overlapping randomly. And then I'm picking pieces and parts to put on the card. Notice that I'm not doing the whole thing, well, unless I want to. If I want to just do parts, I do parts. And if I want to do all of it, kind of like what I'm doing here, I do all of it. So why did I choose to do 4 of these right now? Why am I doing 4 at a time? Is it a magic number? Is it the formula for how to do this exactly right? Nope. 4 cards is what I could get on screen so that you could see it while I'm doing it so you could keep seeing those layers build up. If I didn't have to keep it within the camera, I could be doing any number of these. And the same is true for you. You could do a whole bunch of these at once, and it's a great way to get a lot of them knocked out. Now, did you notice how I used the lid in the blue and made some big circles and then brought in the stencil? Was that a big grand plan? Was that some special technique? No, that was called I changed my mind and decided to go with the little circles instead of the big ones. Now, this is probably going to blow your mind. When I put white paint on this gel press plate, what's going to happen with that blue paint that's still wet on there? Probably you never would have guessed that blue and white will mix together because, well, it's 2 wet paints being brayered together. And because of that, the white paint is not nearly as bright and crisp as what I was going for. So once I take this layer here, I realize, yeah, that's not quite what I was looking for. But when things don't go as planned, I just say it's an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly. It's not the end of the world, and especially when you're gel printing, because it just means put another layer on top of it. Now I'm bound and determined to get some solid bright white on these things, so I put some more white paint on there, and I'm going to do this again. But here's the thing, is it's definitely picking up some of that blue. It's definitely not giving me the look that I had in my mind, and hasn't that happened to all of us at some point? So what I'm going to do here is just take a print of what's on there. And this will be a great first layer, a great beginning to a print. And I'm going to do with this, just like what I'm doing with the cards, is I'll just keep building up more layers on it when I'm playing with the gel plate. And everything that I'm sharing with you here about doing on the cards, you bet it all applies just as well to full-size prints too. All right, so I'm going to try and cover up some of that white that I'm not in love with. That's what I do when I have a layer that I don't love, is I put some more stuff on top of it. And notice how on some of them, I'm just picking and choosing little parts of it and putting it on there. And then on others, I'm taking big areas of color. And if you'd like to know the mathematical formula for deciding exactly when you take a partial or a full print of what's on that plate, I don't know what to tell you, because I don't have one. Because to me, this is play. This is just having fun. It's not about getting it right or perfect. It's about enjoying, moving that color around, seeing what happens, and trying different things. That's what I'm doing here, is I'm basically experimenting. I'll put a little here, a lot there. The stuff that I like, I keep. The stuff that I don't like, I cover up. Now, I'm a person that loves having lots and lots of layers, lots of things going on and things that I'm printing. And that's why I love to put a lot of layers on these. Now, you might be the kind of person that likes just a couple of layers. And absolutely, you can do it the way that works best for you. I'm a more is more kind of person, and I love all those layers. And so that's why I've put a bunch on here. But these are now feeling like they've got almost as many layers on there as I want. There's one last thing that I want to do to kind of pull them all together. I'm going to use a stencil here. And you'll notice how I'm going to push it down, make sure it's got good attachment there to that gel press plate. That's going to hold it in place. And you'll also notice that the words are backwards. Whenever you put a word stencil onto your gel press plate, you want to make sure those words are backwards. That way, when they print, they're printed the proper way, the correct way, the legible way. And this stencil, by the way, is called Uplifting Words. And I can either take a whole bunch of the words, like I'm going to do here, and put a bunch of them all around the card. Or I can pick and choose like I'm going to do with this one and just put a little bit here, a little bit there. You have that complete flexibility when you're gel printing. Take all of it or take some of it. Now, this is probably not going to come as any surprise to you, but there are lots and lots and lots of ways to use a gel press plate. Lots of different looks and techniques and ways to use it. This is just one of them. Now, if you'd like more ideas on how to use it, inspiration, that kind of thing, hit the subscribe button, and that way you'll know as soon as GelPress has a new video out. The first couple of cards I did, the words are much more legible than what they are now. These are ending up being more like remnants, little peaks of words, a few letters here and there. When you're printing, do you have a preference? Do you like having whole words or having those little fragments, little bits and pieces of them in your prints? Let me know in the comments what your preference is. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. Here are the 4 cards side by side, and if you've had fun watching this video, I'd so appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And thank you for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.